What's going on? Welcome into My Take Is. Thank you for clicking on the video. Make sure you click subscribe as well. I got a lot more great NBA content coming out as the season continues. And the Detroit Pistons got off to a hot start. Everybody loves them for good reasons. The Raptors were rolling before RJ Barrett got hurt. They're a really nice story. The Magic are figuring it out after their slow start. The Celtics are the 3 seed right now, just really tough. A lot of good players. Jalen Brown leading the way there. But I think you're a fool if you don't have the New York Knicks coming out of the Eastern Conference. This is clearly, through the first 2 months of the season, the best team in the Eastern Conference. They have the best player in the conference that's going to be on the team good enough to make a run. Because obviously Jayson, Tatum, and Tyrese Haliburton, they're both out for the year after tearing their Achilles last year. Giannis is obviously the best player in the Eastern Conference, but the Bucks are a mess. Giannis, there's a decent chance he's not even going to finish the season playing for the Bucks, and obviously if he gets moved, then things change pretty quickly, right, after that happens. But the Bucks have just really kind of failed to put a winning team around him, and because of that, Jalen Brunson's going to be the best player in every series that he plays in, unless they play Milwaukee. And if they do, they've got more than enough talent around Brunson to beat Milwaukee. We've seen it the last 2 years. The guy that Jalen Brunson becomes in the fourth quarter in both the regular season and especially in the postseason. I live in Indianapolis. With that being said, I am not a Pacers fan, but I obviously watched all those games. And every time Jalen Brunson got the ball late, you sat on your couch just knowing that every time he shot the ball, it was going in. It was going to happen. He was going to get to his spot, and he was either going to get fouled, and if you didn't foul him, then he was going to make the shot. And you got Aaron Nesmith running around like a madman, doing everything he can to just wear Brunson down and get him to miss, and it just did not happen. Just an incredible playoff performer leading the way for New York. And I think that if you were going to pick anyone at this point in the season to come out of the East not named the Knicks, it would be Detroit. But I've got a couple holdups with them. I love Cade Cunningham, but there's too many games where he'll have 5 or more turnovers. I don't think they have a secondary ball handler yet. More on that here in a second. I love Donovan Mitchell. I love watching Cleveland play, but Darius Garland, I think, just gets taken advantage of too much in the postseason just because he's just not big enough. He's not. And speaking of Donovan Mitchell, I call Jalen Brunson the best player on a team good enough to make it to the finals, because I do think that either Denver or Oklahoma City is going to win the whole thing. And the reason why I would say Jalen Brunson is the best player in the Eastern Conference on a team good enough to win, the East, the reason why I take him over Donovan Mitchell is I think he's just a little bit better of a playmaker, but both very similar in terms of just the playoff risers that they are. I just favor Brunson because I think he's just a little bit better at playmaking for other guys, right? And so having Jalen Brunson on a roster that has been improved, with the 2 best players in the Eastern Conference, Jayson Tatum and Tyrese Haliburton, being out for the year, I don't know how you don't pick them. And you say, oh, well, Jonathan, Cleveland, they're 14-11 right now. They're struggling a little bit with some injury luck. But when they get healthy, I think people expect for Cleveland to be pretty good. Here's my holdup with Cleveland. This team just underachieves in the playoffs. In the 22-23 season, they suffered a gentleman's sweep in the first round when they played New York. In the 23-24 season, they were a second-round exit. Last year was kind of supposed to be the year where Donovan Mitchell and Garland and Mobley and Jared Allen finally kind of at least got to an Eastern Conference Finals. They had that amazing regular season. And then they play the Pacers, and they got gentlemen swept. 4-1. See you later. And I understand that Garland was hurt in that series. He wasn't making that big of a difference. The Pacers were clearly the better team. And after seeing the Knicks make runs to the Eastern Conference Finals, watching them make a run to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, 2 years ago it was Boston and Indiana, But after seeing them make that run last year, like you really trust Cleveland to figure it out this year, given their failures the last 3 years? And it does look like New York figured it out last year. They just ran into a Pacers team that was playing really, really well at that time. Right? So that's kind of my holdup with Cleveland. The Magic aren't good enough offensively. And I thought I loved the move to go get Desmond Bane. He had 37 earlier tonight against Miami. But their issue is when Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner are both healthy, they are going to play two guys late in games that can't shoot. And I think it's really hard to run good offense in the NBA when you have two guys on the floor who aren't threats to make threes. And neither Franz Wagner nor Paolo Banchero have developed that part of their game yet. And so, that has to happen, I think, in order for Orlando to take the next step, even though there's obviously a lot to like with Orlando. They're going to be really good defensively. I like Paolo. I did a whole thing on how the Magic aren't better without him the other day. You can go watch that if you want. But so, there's a lot to like with Orlando, but they just don't have the shooting. They just don't have it. And then you have the Pistons, who are, a little younger, and their biggest issue that I think they're going to run into if they play the Knicks, they don't have enough top-end talent. Kay Cunningham, obviously a stud. Arguably one of the 10 best basketball players in the world, probably somewhere between 8 and 12, right, with the way that he's playing right now. I love Jalen Duren. But Jalen Duren's not creating offense for you at the same level as a guy like Karl-Anthony Towns, who's the second best player for the Knicks. Tobias Harris has his playoff demons. You can't trust him more than OG Anunoby or Mikal Bridges or whoever else you want to pick as that Knicks third best player. Ausar Thompson, I love every bit as much as I love Amen Thompson. Ausar Thompson's not creating offense for you in the playoffs. And so while the Knicks are going to ask for Karl-Anthony Towns and Mikal Bridges and Jordan Clarkson off the bench and these guys to create offense for them when Jalen Brunson can't, the Pistons are going to Caris LeVert, who's a good player, but you don't want him, creating offense for you in the playoffs, right? You take a lot of those Knicks guys to create offense for you before you got to Caris LeVert, who, again, is a good player. And so for the Knicks, I just think they have better options after Jalen Brunson than everybody else does after their best player in the Eastern Conference. But here's the biggest thing for them now. They have depth. They have depth now. I thought Coach Tibbs caught just a tough break. Everyone was riding him because he didn't play the bench last year. And that was the right move. They didn't have one. It was Deuce McBride and Mitchell Robinson, and that was it. You're out here calling for Tyler Kolek when Tyler Kolek spent most of the year last year playing in the G League. Okay? This year, not only do they have Deuce McBride, not only do they have Mitchell Robinson coming off the bench, but they had former Sixth Man of the Year in Jordan Clarkson, a guy who's just instant offense. Tyler Kolek, he's playing about 10 minutes a game this year. I think he's played in 19 of their 21 games, something like that. So he's getting some run on a pretty consistent basis. But as of right now, the Knicks have 9 players that Coach Brown can trust to play in the regular season. Okay, we'll see how much he trusts Kolek in the playoffs. But at a minimum, he's going to be at 8 guys that he can trust to play big minutes in the playoffs. And the Knicks have been capped at 6 or 7 players for the last 2 years in terms of who you could trust to play real minutes in the playoffs. 2 years ago, they're going to Precious Achiuwa. I believe Mitchell Robinson was hurt in that playoff run. Last year, they're having to go to Landry Shamet, who's obviously not a bad player, but you don't want that guy playing 12 minutes for you in the playoffs. You don't. I feel like they've been one body short, and they finally got that extra body with Jordan Clarkson. And it's not even just that they have an 8th guy. It's an 8th guy who can kind of spell Jalen Brunson in that lead guard role, creating a bunch of offense. Because a lot of the Deuce McBride offense comes off of him taking 1 or 2 dribbles or catch and shoot threes. Jordan Clarkson, he can put on the deck and break you down and give everybody else on the offense a possession off, which is going to be important if you're only going to play 8 guys. And it looks like that's what the Knicks are going to be rolling with. Obviously, we have the trade deadline in February and those things that'll impact what that Knicks rotation looks like. But right now, they've got 8 guys who can play real playoff minutes. They haven't had that. That is the boost that they've needed to become a team good enough to win the East. And given the injuries to Haliburton and Tatum, this is the year for the Knicks that they get it done and they go back to the NBA Finals.